So let's have a discussion about Jalen Hurts' draft stock, and all that's coming up after the bumper.
Don't be cornering me. Hold up. Time. You gotta help me with that corner shit.
What's up, kinfolk? It's RJ Young. I'm not on a step mill. Consider hitting the like and subscribe button because I upload a video every single day. So it's college football related, sports related. We have a good time. And today, I want to have a discussion about Jalen Hurts' mock draft status and draft stock as it is, because I'm uploading this on, well, the traditional holiday that is every Sunday, that is NFL football, for which you figure Jalen Hurts wants to have a part of this, right? Now, I, like many of you, pay attention to mock drafts, and I pay attention to draft scouts, and I pay attention to draft analysts. And one of the things that I've found to be interesting is, first, Todd McShay barely ranks Jalen Hurts inside the top 100 available football players in the 2020 draft at 99, making him the 9th best player at his position. Now, there's a number of reasons for why that is, but I do want to round this out by saying most people believe that Jalen Hurts is a round 2 draft pick. McShay thinks he's a day 3 guy. Now, if you're looking at Jalen Hurts and you're expecting him to be accurate, that's just not something that he has proven he could do. And a lot of the discussion around him is a lot of the discussion that was driving perhaps Kyler Murray's draft stock last year and Baker Mayfield's draft stock before it, which is the guy calling the plays is really good. And the offense has been traditionally really great, especially over the last half decade. However, how much of Jalen Hurts is the guys that he is throwing to and the line that is protecting for him, and how much of that is his ability as a passer? There are guys in the NFL that start right now who cannot make a play for you, but if you have the right scheme for them, they thrive in it. Now, an example of this for me is Kirk Cousins for the Minnesota Vikings. That's not a guy that's just going to go out there and win you football games. Nobody was talking about him in a great way coming out of Michigan State, right? He just ain't that dude. Same thing with Case Keenum coming out of Houston. He's a good quarterback. He's great to have on your team, but he's not a guy that you would expect to go and make you a play. Now, Kyler Murray and Baker Mayfield were supposed to be those guys that can make you a play. And I contend Kyler Murray is the best athlete of all 3 of those guys. And I still think that he has the highest upside of all 3 of those guys, Baker Mayfield and Jalen Hurts and, of course, Murray. But I've had people that genuinely believe that Kyler Murray is less of an athlete than Jalen Hurts, to which I would say, okay, one of those guys was drafted in the first round of 2 different sports and also passed for 300, rushed for 100 against Alabama in 2018. I'm not sure that Jalen Hurts is going to get close to those numbers against LSU, but that remains to be seen. I wanted to have this discussion because quarterback is just a different kind of prospect. And the way that we think about them changes because they're responsible for so much. In an ultimate team game, quarterback is the most individualistic position, and that guy very much needs to be the CEO of your club, which means that you need to build everything around him. And you can see an example of that with Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens. They brought in Greg Roman and said, hey, this is the guy. Build an offense for him, not unlike the one you built for Colin Kaepernick with the 49ers, and not unlike the one that Tyrod Taylor was a Pro Bowler in, the Buffalo Bills. And if you have that kind of buy-in, you can do great things. Just take a look at what the Ravens have done, and Lamar Jackson has turned into, well, the MVP. And if he doesn't win the MVP, there's something wrong with the people that are voting on that award. He's not Patrick Mahomes with the Kansas City Chiefs, though, and he ain't Baker Mayfield with Cleveland, who has somehow regressed as an accurate passer this year than years prior. And he ain't Kyler Murray, for which you can trust him to run to throw, but you'll also call run plays for him. I find it interesting that there are so many people that want to draft Jalen Hurts highly based on what he did at Alabama and what he's doing at Oklahoma, and they look at numbers. Now, if you're watching football games, you'll see Jalen Hurts has a propensity to not just overthrow the fastest guy at Oklahoma and Charleston Rambo, who might drop 4.3 in the 40 when he tests out, but also he will hold the ball and not throw to guys that might be open for half a second or throw them open. And I think that is going to bite him at the next level. For instance, people want to compare him to Lamar Jackson because, as I've said many times before, he's only the 3rd player in college football history to rush for 1,000 yards and pass for 3,000 yards in his first 11 games. The others are, of course, Jackson and Johnny Manziel. And Johnny Manziel isn't even good enough to play in the XFL. That's coming out of Oliver Luck's mouth, not mine. Okay? I look at him and I see Josh Allen at the Buffalo Bills without the cannon for an arm. Now, the difference is I think Jalen Hurts is a better runner, even as Josh Allen is probably a better athlete. But if you have a guy that you can depend on to lead you, to be the face of your franchise, and that's what you're looking for in Jalen Hurts, you could do a whole hell of a lot worse. There are many people, myself included, that believe that he is a world-class leader and he is a world-class football guy. This is what he loves. This is what he is. This is who he is. I think that as good as he could be in the NFL, I think he's going to be a better coach, and I think that's just an obvious part of his future, whether or not he's an offensive coordinator or head coach or whatever. I think that Jalen Hurts is going to be outstanding for the game as he continues to grow up, and people forget he's still relatively young. Even as a grad transfer, he's still very, very young. But as we continue to have this conversation about who you would draft first, I mean, Justin Herbert might be the guy that people like. Tua Tagovailoa obviously is going to go. Joe Burrow might be the first overall pick, and trending that way because Tua Tagovailoa had the hip injury, right? And because what Joe Burrow has done, 4,700 yards passing this year. But the knock on Burrow is he's only done it for this year. Last year he was mediocre, but you could say a lot of that was the scheme in the offense. And if you apply the same logic, you give him a scheme and an offense that he knows what to do with, you're obviously going to look at him and say, maybe that's my guy, and I'll build around him. That also means you would need to hire the kind of people that would invest the effort and time to not only build the offense around him, but build the team around him and take advantage of what he does well to hide the weaknesses for what he doesn't do well. Again, with Jalen Hurts, you're looking at the kind of guy that is just as good passing as he is running, which is to say that he's a better runner than most quarterbacks, but not as good a passer as you would want from your starting quarterback in the NFL. This ain't going to be Aaron Rodgers. This ain't going to be Tom Brady. This might be Russell Wilson if you do it correctly. But people forget when Seattle was winning championships, they ran the football and they played outstanding defense. You might also build it like you did Kyle Shanahan, or how Kyle Shanahan built the 49ers with Jimmy Garoppolo. Outstanding run game, outstanding run scheme, who's flat out just going to scheme guys open, and you'll be able to hit them. But if you're drafting him in the first round, you need him to play right away, and that means you need to be able to overhaul your offense right now, right? And when you're looking at people that need a quarterback or will have a quarterback need, they're probably going to go in the first round. San Diego Chargers might end up with Justin Herbert. If they are fortunate enough for Joe Burrow to drop to them, they're going to take him. Tua Tagovailoa is also going to go in the first round. Outside of that, you're getting fringe candidates, right? I think we can all agree about that because Daniel Jones is going to be the guy at the New York Giants. Maybe Tampa Bay is going to look to go get another quarterback because Jameis Winston is just as good as he is bad. He's likely to throw you a pick six. He's likely to throw you a touchdown. It's just, don't know what you're going to get out of him, and that's absolutely what you want to do. Will Grier might be the guy next up if Cam Newton is usurped, but I'm not so certain that Cam Newton's going to be usurped. Dwayne Haskins is the quarterback of the future for the Redskins. I mean, it's just, you keep going down the list and you look at the quarterback needs for some, and you're just like, Drew Lock might be the guy for Denver, for which CeeDee Lamb might end up playing for them. But as we continue to talk about what Jalen Hurts might do at the next level, I want everybody to understand, if that man does not get drafted in round 2, round 3, or round 4, which is on the table, it ain't really the knock that you think it is, right? It's just we don't necessarily have a fit for him, or we don't think that we can build around him to be our starter of the future. Somebody is going to draft Jalen Hurts, and it might be as early as the first round. I'd be shocked if it was at this point. But you know how mock drafts move. You know how draft analysts move. And you know that the NFL doesn't actually start watching college football until 1, the college football playoff, 2, the national championship, and 3, in March, when they really got to get their board right because the draft is coming in April. So they're not really paying attention. And there are guys that have moved up that perhaps will move down, and there are other guys that you have never heard of who are all of a sudden going to be talked about as first day, first top 25, first 32 picks in the draft this year. So I would say couch it for a little bit, but I wanted to have this discussion right now because Mel Kiper and Todd McShay have both put up theirs. I know that Matt Miller does an outstanding job with his draft notebook. Dane Bugler does a really good job with The Athletic, and on and on. But continue to have those thoughts, continue to think about this, and watch what he does against LSU because he's going to be graded hard off of that game. All right, that's it for me. Doses.